And for more insights into that ongoing summit, we're joined here in our Nairobi studios by Desta Mebratu. He is the Deputy Director at the United Nations Environment Programme Regional Office for Africa. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Day 2 of this summit here in Nairobi, what are your expectations on what it should achieve?
The second United Nations Environment Assembly is focusing on delivering on Agenda 2030, which was adopted in September 2015. So it started with a science policy dialogue last week, which was held for 2 days, and continued over the weekend with major groups, stakeholders consultation, and now we are in the main Environment Assembly, which is started with the high-level expert meeting. And essentially, the whole focus is on how we can move from commitment to action and delivering results. And so far, the discussion we had in different forums, including the side events and the main assembly sessions, is confirming that countries are more focused on moving forward into action and delivering on Agenda 2030 and other commitments, including the Paris Agreement on climate change.
And as we talk about action, when it comes to the continent itself here in Africa, what are the key challenges that the continent faces in terms of environmental conservation, and what should the African leaders get out of this meeting?
Well, African countries are facing, as any developing countries, a significant erosion of their ecological foundation, which is the main basis for African economies. As you know, African economy is largely agricultural, and with a number of factors, including climate change, population pressure, and so on, the ecological foundation is being degraded continuously. But in recent years, we are seeing a major shift. Number one, most of the African countries are recognizing the importance of maintaining that ecological foundation and started to take some concrete actions, both at the country's level and at the regional level through their ministerial conference on environment. So we are seeing progress both in terms of recognizing the challenge and creating the necessary condition for taking the appropriate actions to resolve the issues. When it comes to urban centers, of course, we have the air pollution problem, which is an increasing challenge for most African urban centers, including the rural areas where we have significant level of indoor air pollution. So in a number of areas, the African countries can gain from the United Nations Environment Assembly by actively contributing and participating in the discussion, in the negotiation, in the knowledge sharing, and consolidating their positions also in terms of policy actions, strategic interventions, and mobilization of the African population for the transition we need to have in place.
Right. And what would you say are the main obstacles that Africa needs to overcome in order to mobilize funding for sustainable development?
Yeah, I think the issue of financing and technology transfer has been one of the major issues that has been deliberated on for a number of years. But the Addis Ababa Action Agenda on Financing for Sustainable Development has provided some kind of blueprint, globally agreed blueprint on how to move forward in mobilizing the required resource, starting from domestic resource mobilization, international development financing, and more importantly, private sector engagement, because private sector has a very critical role to play in achieving the Agenda 2030, and they are coming forward to be an active player. So African countries need to create that conducive condition for the private sector to come in a meaningful way to facilitate the transition towards a more sustainable and resource-efficient, low-carbon society.
All right, we appreciate your insights. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We had here in studio Desta Mebratu. He's the Deputy Director at the United Nations Environment Programme Regional Office for Africa.